Hello, guys. How are you guys doing on this Friday afternoon or evening, depending on where you are? Hello. That was a little treat for you from the Bone Bleach Basin, the #1 radio show in the Corvin Basin. A clown set? No. I don't know if I can get on the Noxy to ever make something like that. So as I mentioned to you guys on our forum and Facebook, we are going to actually show you the new sets that are coming out in the next patch, patch 1.1.3, which is coming fairly soon actually. It's pretty well along. New Windows 10 update, that's not what we're here to talk about. That was in fact Bone Leech Basin music, yep. So if you haven't been to the Bone Leech Basin, I suggest you check it out and you'll probably hate me for it. But yes, more Fashion Dawn, more playstyles, 5 new sets, bunch of new options for you. And today we're going to take a look at them in detail. Yeah, so the shoulders aren't on this character because that is not part of the set. This character is only wearing the set pieces. Yep, 5 new sets, 20 new items, a variety of new playstyles. Every single one of these sets is a triple class or triple mastery set, so you could probably come up with some interesting options there. Do we ever sleep? No. Absolutely not. Let's jump in here. What about the new dungeon? So you are referring to our 5th roguelike dungeon, which is coming. It's being actively worked on. It's going to be a lot of work, because roguelike dungeons, frankly, take a lot of work. There's also a whole lot of build-up to that dungeon that we have to create. So as I mentioned in our little roadmap that we posted, I guess about a month ago, this is going to relate to Riggs, the character in the Conclave of the Three, who gives you a few things, you know, for free, but with a few strings attached. And when one of our updates later on comes out, I believe it'll be in 1.1.4, then he's going to come and ask for a little something in return. And that's going to involve sending you to what will be the 5th roguelike dungeon. And a few things along the way. Just like to say thanks for the updated Ether Array. Made you play a caster for the first time 600 hours. You love it. Awesome. That is exactly what we want to hear with that update. Is the new dungeon in the Maw in the Desert? It's not in there, but you might end up in there for some reason. Are there any plans for some adventure mode leveling without playing the story, maybe? I don't think we'd ever do something like that. I think if you actually really desperately want to level without doing quest content, you can go into the Crucible, you can go into the Shadow Realm. The Shadow Realm actually gives quite a bit of XP compared to other stuff. Is Ugal coming? If Ugal is coming, then the game's just going to get deleted. Alright, first up, we have the Dune Fiend set. This is a dual-wielding set that even if you are actually not going to be playing a dual-wield class, you can still gain the ability to do so through the helmet. Is it true that items in Grim Dawn can't roll perfect values on every rollable modifier on the same item? I'd really have to dig into the seed mechanic that is how items determine their stats, but I'm fairly sure that that is in fact true, that you cannot roll what would be considered a perfect item. Besides, statistically, the odds of rolling such a thing, even if it were possible, would be so astronomically low that you shouldn't really ever count on it. Right, so helmet enables dual wielding. That's important because it involves 2 swords in this set. We have the slicer and the dicer, no, the blade. All these items are built around you playing with Shadow Strike. Eye of Reckoning, and you can support yourself with the addition of Blood of Dreig, which will give you additional offensive stats and actually increase the healing output of Blood of Dreig to give you better sustain. Xbox version ever coming? Yes, it is absolutely coming. We're sorry that it's not, we're not giving you more active updates in that regard, but it's just not at a point where we can actually tell you with confidence like it's coming out this day. Even just talking to Riss, one of our programmers who's involved with the Xbox port, just last week, and there's actually going to be potentially some more optimizations coming to the game. Again, courtesy of the Xbox port, but it does mean that several things still have to happen before we can even get into releasing the Xbox port for you. But don't worry, it's coming. It's going to be great. We hope you guys enjoy it on console. I wish I had an Xbox. I'm one of the PS4 guys. Maybe someday we'll get it on PS4, we'll see. And the chess piece. Now, a little bit of fun that we had with this set that I'll point out now is that we ended up adding a little bit more tech to the way we can swap out skill effects. So you'll notice that Eye of Reckoning is a nice acidic green. And this applies to all skill modifiers on gear that convert Eye of Reckoning, which will now reflect the correct damage type for that skill. So for example, let me give myself a particular two-hander. Forget what ID it is. Got it. Glad you guys like it. Yes, so that is specific to Eye of Reckoning. So before, Eye of Reckoning couldn't have its effect swapped out by item skills, but now it can, which is going to be coming in this patch. Will there ever be a way to turn off the visuals to toggle abilities? Probably not. You'd have to add some tech to be able to disable those on a case-by-case basis. Or do you mean just like a complete just turn off all effects like that? Again, that's not really the simplest thing, because enemies can apply stuff to you, and like would that be visible? And then some of those things are attached on the same point, and it gets complicated. The game wasn't built for that. We'd have to look into even the feasibility of something like that. But yes, Shadow Strike, Eye of Reckoning, and the fun thing here with Eye of Reckoning on this set, let me try to get it to proc, is going to be the fact that you can get multiple Shadow Strikes off in a row, which can be pretty bursty, or just fun to like jump around the battlefield like that. And that's because of that set bonus, 12% chance of 100% cooldown reduction for Shadow Strike. So it kind of harkens back to this really old bug we had, where people were actually able to stack enough cooldown reduction to make Shadow Strike have a 0.1 second cooldown, and they were basically doing stuff like that. Any plans to make healing stat more meaningful? Is it not meaningful enough already? It gets a little odd when you have 9 toggle abilities and you glow like a Christmas tree. So that's actually why we ended up adjusting a bunch of the visual effects on some older skills. For example, Sphere of Protection, or Maven's Sphere of Protection, get completely overhauled, so it's not going to blow you up like a bubble like it used to. I almost want to make the proc chance on this higher, just because it's so much fun to do that.
That skill's not right.
Any chance to tweak the familiar's AI to use its heal more frequently on other pets? So one thing we did specifically is change the familiar's heal to be an AoE. So you can kind of position yourself near your pets to optimize the way the healing comes out. I'm not sure about just straight up switching it so it prioritizes pets more than you, because then you might end up in the opposite scenario where he's healing your pets, then you need a heal and you're screwed. Any news on the Loyalist item pack? So the Loyalist item pack, as has been asked, is an upgrade you can pick up on Steam and I guess Humble as well, and GOG, that adds a few cosmetic items to your collection. The first one was released way back in beta, and it was a way to sort of throw more support at us if you like the work we do and you want something in return for it. So that worked out very well, and it seems like you guys have enjoyed it very much. So yes, we are actually considering doing a second Loyalist pack. It's actively in the works. I hope it'll make this next patch. We'll see. But we actually just recently talked about some of the concepts for the armor that we're going to add in that collection, the Loyalist Pack 2, and it's some pretty cool stuff, I gotta tell you. It's not ready to show you yet. It's not actually in game yet, but it's gonna be pretty awesome. I think for those people that are interested in supporting Crane Entertainment further and purchasing that second Loyalist Pack, you're gonna have some really cool armor to show off. Yes, I hate procs and procs hate me.
That skill's not good.
And Sir doesn't want to proc for me. We're going to low statistical probability here now. Oh, come on. You're embarrassing me in front of the guys. This always happens. What are we at now? Was that like 15 in a row? 16? 17? Clearly broken seed. 18? 19? Yeah, it clearly wants a higher proc chance. 20? There we go. Clearly needs a higher proc chance. If it's not a 100% chance to proc, what's even the point? So yeah, for those of you who might just be joining us, this is the first set we have, the Corvin Dune Fiend. Makes Eye of Reckoning a nice green. Gives you that chance to reset the cooldown of Shadow Strike, which is probably not going to happen again because it hates me. Yes, performance anxiety for sure. Will Nightblade ever get exclusives? You always feel bad about not having a crazy toggle that deals frostburn and acid damage over time with 10-meter radius. I don't think there's ever going to be a point where we would go back to old masteries and add new skills. That's just not... The game's not really at a point where that makes sense to do. Green Shadow Strike Rift when? Maybe. I'll have to see if that's even possible. Please add a rainbow effect to Elemental Shockwave? But why? Alright, so that's the first set. One last quick look at those. What are the chances that a mythical Ether Storm set could get a devastation, or can be cast with a 200 mod on full set? Buffed attack it provides Bex for 250% weapon damage, but devastation mods then go to waste, assuming new set doesn't make this a thing. Well, first off, blue sets don't have item skill modifiers, so that alone is going to be a bit of a showstopper in your idea. Second off, I'm not sure I'd actually want to do something like that. Yep, both swords convert. Ever thought about selling cosmetics like skill effects and such? You demand Glacial Primer Strike effect or Riot. So that's kind of where the Loyalist Edition pack comes in. Like that is cosmetic armors. They don't give you any sort of gameplay advantage. I mean, apart from looking really awesome. In terms of skill effect swapping, like the way the tech has been built in the game, to do that, there have to be item skill modifiers, which is why we've had all these in the last patch. We've had all these item skill modifiers that now swap out effects. But without an item skill modifier, we actually don't have the means to replace a skill effect visually. I mean, would you prefer if there were 50% each? Because that was the alternative. So the next set we have on this character, because it has some similar class distributions, is the Targo's Craft set. This isn't. All of these are 4-piece sets. First up, we've got the helm. Shoulders. So as we mentioned in our development update that we posted earlier this month, this set is focused on Judgment, Amarastro's Blade Burst, and Blade Arc. And those of you who like to have some trauma damage for other builds potentially, like say if you've got an Octavius build, or not Octavius, a Spellscourge build, you might find that this Blade Arc supporting Mace might fit really well into that set. This, I think, what I'm going to end up doing actually is switching the effect to a yellow one, because that would be neat. Yeah, I think Blade Burst will be pretty beefy with this combo, and Blade Arc for that matter. Just pull them all in, and then whack. But yeah, I think we're gonna make that Blade Burst effect yellow. It'll be more fitting, considering Judgment looks like this. Amaras's Punch Burst. Well, it would make more sense if I had a shield or weapon in my offhand. You pick terrible times to ask questions. Set needs reflect damage reduction. That might actually make sense. Yeah, the white does look fine, but it might look finer if it's yellow. So that's 2 sets. And visually, I think these turn out great too. Okay, you've asked me the Ether Storm question. I guess you weren't paying attention to my answer. It'd be cool if Judgment didn't knock enemies around, but it pulled them in real quick. Would feel more satisfying, you might say. The knockdown is too slow. I mean, we could increase the intensity of the knockdown, but then that might start having weird effect. Well, to summarize the answer to your question, DM, I don't think it makes sense to do that. First off, epic sets don't have skill modifiers, which would be necessary to do what you want. But if you want the full answer, you'll have to watch the recording later. How much sets will I show today? I'll show you all 5. Yeah, just get enough damage on Judgment that it kills things instantly, and then you don't have to worry about it. Any info if you'll get a roguelike dungeon, what will it be like? I'll tell you that you are getting a roguelike dungeon in an upcoming patch. Not the one that includes these sets, but it is coming. Visually, it's going to be themed similar to some of the environments you've seen in the expansion. I think we'll throw a few twists in there. Definitely gonna have some fun with it. There'll of course be some more lore for you to uncover, which will be pretty fun. I look forward to writing that. Sets? What sets? You just started playing Grim Dawn 2 days ago. 2 days? You've got a lot of catching up to do. But welcome, and hope you enjoy. it's it's not going to be inside the belly of the beast, but you will venture in there, for some reason, on the way to the roguelike dungeon. Time to show another one. Indeed it is time to show another set. So for this one, we're going to switch to another character. Oh, and one thing about the Dune Fiend set that I want to switch back to for a second, because it has some really cool visuals on the scales. How are the sales on Forgotten Gods doing? They're doing very good. Can't complain. The expansion was absolutely worth doing, I'll tell you that. But yeah, look at the kind of the shimmer that he's got on, that Almanaxi ended up getting on those scales. I think it's really neat. But moving on to the Pyran set. What about a fist weapon class for the future, like a brawler? Well, first off, if we add another mastery, it would require another expansion, which is not super likely at this point because we would rather focus on supporting Forgotten Gods and our future projects. In terms of fist weapons, though, even if we add another mastery, we would not add a new weapon type because that requires new animations. It requires like adjusting the loot tables and bloating the loot pool. So we would never add a new weapon type. Any more tweaks to the Shadow Realm? Right now it feels tedious. Well, what about it feels tedious to you, I guess is the question. Any chance of adding a search bar into the stash to find stuff easier? Biggest challenge, honestly, for us with UI stuff is just fitting things in.
Stashed.
Like, this UI is already as full as it's gonna get. So to add a search filter, we'd have to make some changes. Boros question is pretty legit. Fire to fizz on chest ought to be elemental to fizz. Which chest are we talking about? Oh, Targo said. I'll take a look at that later. But Pyran set.
I'll keep an eye on this.
So this is another 4-piece set. Looks pretty badass, I would say. It involves chest piece, shoulders, helmet, and offhand. Animations are really expensive if you're not mistaken. Individual animations might not be, but the problem is with adding a new weapon set is that we need to do 2 entire animation sets. One for male character, one for female character, and then we'd have to do animations for every single like attack type, every single weapon pull skill, all sorts of custom animations we have for various like special skills. It's actually quite a long list. So to add a new weapon type, it would be very expensive for what you get. And in the end of the day, a new weapon type is mostly visual, doesn't actually change the gameplay that much. So I'm not sure it's really worth it. I would rather just have more animations for new monsters than make all these animations for the player character. What was the question there? Something about a mod. Will there ever be a way to use the pickup button to pick up all components and stuff like in Tiny Quest? You just press the key once and it'll AoE loot the stuff. I mean, Medea's answer to that question is the most valid one. There is a mod that does that. People are happy with what that mod does. We personally do not want to add an auto loot feature like that, so that's why modding exists. And in terms of your concern about compatibility in multiplayer, that mod actually does not conflict with playing multiplayer with other people. You have a question about the skill system. Bear with me if you don't own the expansion, so none of it's in the game already. Would it be possible to have the ability to choose your element for skills? For example, Nightblade equals cold damage on most skills, or poison. Is it possible to choose other elements for these skills? That's kind of why we had item skill modifiers. So that sort of stuff. I mean, I guess if you don't own the expansions, then then that's why you're not familiar with this. But yes, so there's a whole lot of item skill modifiers in Ashes of Malmeth and beyond that actually alter the way skills function, alter the damage types they do. There's damage conversion on gear. So yeah, there's a lot that you could do with that. What's the reason to place an NPC that only sells potions in Shadow Realm Treasure Chamber? I think he should just randomly appear in some fighting chunk. The reason he exists there is actually because he sells the Shattered Realm set. So previously what happened was the Shattered Realm set would drop as gear from the chests, which had a few problems. The first one being that if your inventory was full and you looted it and it fell back on the ground, it would get destroyed, because that's how soulbound items work. So to counter that problem, we ended up just moving it to a vendor. The other issue actually was that people would get to a point where they already have the set, so they don't need more copies of it dropping. So it dropping was actually detrimental to them getting more loot. So instead, we just ripped the set out of the loot tables, we replaced it with other stuff, so you didn't really lose out, and you can just buy it from the vendor. The Shadow Realm NPC is the real MVP. Alright, shoulders. I'll do the 4 out of 4 skill on the set in a moment, don't worry. On modding, is workshop integration something being considered? We've kind of looked into it. It's kind of messy. The implementation that we would have wanted to do would be quite a bit of work, so I'm not sure it's going to happen at this point, unfortunately. No toggle transmuters for Blood of Jig or of Renewal Pneumatic Breath for those of you who are less button inclined. It's not likely they would ever do a toggle, but there are some item skill modifiers that increase the duration. If you promise to pre-order Grim Dawn 2 announcement now, oh totally, because I've got materials ready for that, right? Skin for pets in transmog vendor? That would be quite a bit of work. So this set, the Pyran's Rumination set, supports 3 different skills. The Guardians of Empyrean for some resist reduction support and some damage output. Devastation. So if you like having a really long devastation, that actually adds 3 seconds to its duration, which is pretty substantial. And finally, Mortar Traps, which also will have a longer lifetime, so you can get a bunch of them out, run around, and blow some enemies up. Now, while you're busy doing all that running around, why not give you a skill that you could cast in between? And that's why we have the Pyran's Pyre. So it's a very short cooldown, which is perfect for when you want to throw something in the middle of your devastations and mortar traps. And of course, visual effects swap on devastation, because of course it has to be. So yeah, if you want stuff raining from the skies, this is your set.
I can't do that yet.
At what point shard does a Shadow Realm set appear at the NPC? It's several different shards. I think the first piece starts at 10, the last piece is at 60. And you can't grab it if you do a checkpoint. So you have to do at least one shard beyond a checkpoint to make the NPC sell the set. Blackwater Cocktail is going to get any color change when having different damage types, reddish vitality for example. I honestly wish it could. The big challenge with Blackwater Cocktail is actually that it has a transmuter that increases the radius of the effect, and that's the problem. Because if we had any sort of effect swapping on gear, it would then conflict. Like, which size does it need to be? Does it need to be the base radius, or does it need to be the transmuted radius? And that just doesn't exist right now in the game. So that's the real challenge of Blackwater Cocktail. I would love to make something like Vitality Fire and all this other stuff, but I'm not sure we'll be able to do that. So we've done as much as we could really, in terms of the visual swapping. There's a bug right now of the Shadow Realm that puts you in a boss arena with no boss in the bog type tile set specifically. If you have a bug, then please report it on the forum. We'll definitely take a look. There is a bug we found in the Shadow Realm with spawns that might be related to that. That is being addressed as we speak. So maybe it's that issue as well, in which case it'll be fixed. Thank you for a very good job of Forgotten Gods. Well, thank you for saying good job. I'm glad you like it. Can I show the set again? Yes. Yes, I can. Maybe make one or two physical two-handed force wave sets. Does it really need a set? It already has quite a bit of item support. What am I showing tonight? I mean, I'm on set number 3 out of 5, so that's what I'm showing tonight. Please give us a chance to throw money at Crate again. Will there be an expansion featuring not China? So as I mentioned earlier, if you guys are interested in throwing more money at Crate, which is greatly appreciated, we are working on a second Loyalist pack, which will include some very cool looking gear. Illusion only, of course, that you can apply through the Illusionist. I saw the concept art for those pretty recently. It looks great. Almanaxi is going to do an awesome job for you guys, and I hope it will be worth it for you. You missed the second set. I'll go through all the sets again in a little bit, just a quick rundown once we get through them all. A second what? A second Loyalist pack. So let you go ahead and load up $10 on your Steam wallet. By all means. What about that new game we've got cooking? Is it an ARPG like Grim Dawn? You hope so because you love the game. So as a general rule, if you are in a company like a video game company and you're making products, you probably don't want to make products that are going to compete with each other. So no, it's not going to be an ARPG. It's actually a town builder, and Madeira is going to talk to you guys about that as soon as he's ready. There's actually been a few screenshots here and there actually leaking in on Facebook for those of you that are paying attention. He's teasing you guys whenever he gets an opportunity. But a website is up and running internally. It's just not ready to show because it doesn't have all the content in it yet. But the town builder is looking really cool. I've had the opportunity to do some playtesting for that in recent months. It's changed a bit since then as well, but it's only getting better. Town builder set in Grim Dawn world. It is not set in the Grim Dawn world. Chop chop Midir. You heard them, Midir. Why don't we release for mobile devices? It would make us darn rich and actually be a good thing. So the thing about mobile is that it's actually incredibly difficult to reach that market. So you said that would make us incredibly rich, but there's actually no guarantee of that. The big thing with mobile games is that they have some crazy marketing sometimes to can't even get off the ground. And if that doesn't pan out, then it'll just fizzle. There needs to be there are billions type Grim Dawn RTS. I would love to make an RTS in a Grim Dawn setting. That would be so much fun for me to develop. Like just as a designer, not even as a gamer, I would love to work on something like that. And then I'd love to play it because we've been playing a whole ton of StarCraft 2, and playing something similar in a Grim Dawn setting would be pretty satisfying. And I can just think of all sorts of race combos and stuff. Maybe having factions is like a sub race selection. I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities. A first-person shooter in GD. You prefer a turn-based Grim Dawn Civilization game where you must rebuild. Man, you guys are having all sorts of crazy game ideas here. Grim Dawn universe in general is awesome. Make any game around it. That is true. I think the Grim Dawn universe has developed pretty nicely in terms of lore and stuff, and the world has gotten fleshed out over the last 7 years, more for Madeira. All right, next set. When you convert 100% of TSS devastation to acid and or cold damage with Conduit of Arcane Whispers, add new colorful effects too, please. The conduits do have effect swaps, so check them out. So if you're more into the Void aspect of things, you might be looking forward to the Void Soul set. This set supports Ages of Menhir, Flames of Ignifar, and Doombolt. Is there a market for Grim Dawn D&D supplement? I think Wizards of the Coast have to talk to us about doing a D&D supplement. And then someone would actually have to have time to write it. Wouldn't it be good to give the Rift set another color like teal? Which Rift set? You're talking about this one? Well, it wouldn't be very Void set if it was teal colored, now would it? Ha! Don't need to write a D&D adventure, just copy paste it like Bethesda. Ooh, too soon. You really need more chaos damage support. There's no base melee attacks that deal chaos damage. You might want to check out the Razin set. Of course, there are visual swaps, because there have to be. One thing that I'll have to switch characters to show you, that is coming in this patch actually, is for Doombolt. We're getting rid of the percent current life damage on it, and replacing it with crit damage. In other words, Doombolt, if it crits, it's gonna crit hella hard. And of course, the transmuter transmitter. All the Rift sets are special sets. Other colors than purple. I mean, the sets are going to be themed after whatever damage type they are. This is a Void set, so it's going to be this color. Any plans to buff the Flames of Ignifar cone or AoE a bit? We weren't planning to increase the AoE, but we are actually buffing Flames of Ignifar. So I think I'm going to have to spawn an enemy here, actually. Because the effect on the shield is on block. And those of you who haven't logged into Grim Dawn recently have not seen this yet. But yesterday we released a new patch that updated some of our oldest enemies in the game. The classic zombie has been brought up to the modern era. They look way better. Yeah, that sneaky patch. These guys in particular are so gross. Ha! Well, they are level 100 and I have no gear on. Looks worse than the older one. You get out right now. You heard people complaining that patch messed up their frames per second. I don't think that's literally possible. That patch, all it added was a few mesh and texture swaps. Like it can't change your frame rate. There's nothing in that patch that could change your frame rate. So for those people that are suffering with frame rate losses, I recommend taking a look at the standard stuff. Update your drivers, verify your game files, all that stuff. That would be the first thing to do. Have we updated anything else besides zombies? Yeah. So there's the mutants that got a lift. Reanimators got a touch up in their textures. Oh my god. Where the fuck did these zombies sneak in? I don't think Valderin got an update because he was already higher visual fidelity than the regular ones. And there's actually a few more mobs that we're looking to update in the future. We just couldn't get them in for this particular patch. This character isn't an occultist, so I can't show you Doombolt, but I can switch it to an occultist if you really want. Which brings us to the Rotgeist set. When is the new patch coming? It's coming soon, pretty soon. The updated Doombolt is hot. So yeah, as I mentioned before, Doombolt no longer has that percent crit life damage, has crit damage instead, which means it's gonna be pretty bursty. Please not so much small patches all the time. It stops you from playing Grim Dawn. Because you need to wait for Glock and Gerda. I admit that we had quite a rapid frequency of patches recently because we wanted to get some stuff out to you. This last one was actually with the intent of getting those zombies updated for the free weekend that's happening right now. So we wanted to make sure that people that might be joining you guys here in the near future for the free weekend get the best early experience they can. Any other extra visual updates for skills in the next patch? So as I showed earlier, we updated Eye of Reckoning so it can swap effects based on your item skill modifiers. Can you tell whoever wrote all the lore notes and item skill descriptions that they're good people? Thanks. I wrote a lot of that, I guess. Hyboreal, Madeira, and Grava also wrote a lot of lore notes. So lore notes aren't all me. A lot of the item stuff is me, I guess, these days. So I'm glad you're enjoying that. Is it possible to play Doombolt proc build in Classic Grim Dawn? Any love for meme builds? I mean, things in the base game have only gotten stronger, so I don't know why that would be any worse than before. Primal Strike. One thing I want to do with Primal Strike is I want Almanac to take a look at it because I feel like that lightning could look hotter. See what we can do with that, and we're gonna see
I can't do that
if we
yet.
can get a visual swap on it, but I'm not 100% sure we can. We'll take a look. However, Rutgeist set. It's a Drieg's Evil Eye, Primal Strike, and Vyre's Might set. You wish you could unlock max difficulty of one playthrough. So if you haven't picked up Forgotten Gods, which I recommend you do, if you get to ultimate difficulty on one character, you can then buy merits, which you can hand down to your alts, and then you can immediately start on ultimate difficulty. How do you do a two-hander caster build? Where's the damage mitigation survivability? That's a very specific question. It's got to be very build dependent. It's doable. What is Rutgeist? The name? A name of sorts, yeah. The question was aimed at this set. Well, for one, you're going to get lifesteal from Drieg's Evil Eye. That's a start. Primal Strike will stun enemies for you. Vyre's Might will CC enemies for you. You can get lifesteal on your two-hander. You wouldn't be spamming Drieg's Evil Eye of this set because the amulet adds a second cooldown. So it is actually optimal if you take it with the transmuter. Which value is placeholder? I'll double check those, but now you're making me think like, what? Should be fine. Oh, you're right. They are. No, they're fine. Nope, they're not. You're right. They're not. Yeah, we'll have to fix those. Between the helm and the set bonus, you will convert the full primal strike to vitality damage. Do you think we'll ever get a generic relic that gives a % damage absorb toggle but no skills? Probably not. Did we consider having this be a lightning to acid themed set too before you finally set on vitality? I mean, we consider all the options. Vitality just seemed like a good fit for Primal Strike since there's a lot of vitality support in Shaman. Could we have a warrior legendary acid poison set without any weapons? You would love to use Mad Queen's claws, but you can't. I don't think we're going to be adding any more sets past this point. Not very likely. The sets we've shown so far, where could you find them? They'll be in the loot pool, so anywhere. And there is quite a bit of sets in the game, yep. But yeah, I do hope we can get Primal Strike updated. That Lightning Bolt feels outdated compared to Doom Bolt. We have an offhand which converts vitality to fire damage on Dreeg's Evil Eye. Do we have a red eye for this? So Dreeg's Evil Eye has the same problem that Blackwater Cocktail has, where the transmuter actually changes the behavior of the projectile. Will we increase the drop rates of Celestial Lotus? I don't think we'll have to increase it in the existing content, but there will be more ways to acquire it once the new roguelike dungeon is added. Do I ever play custom mods that are on the forums? Grim Dawn Alone is a great game. I've generally not had much time to check out mods personally, I'm afraid. But I've seen some really cool stuff in the modding forum. So it's pretty cool what people are pumping out. Like that one guy that's working on all sorts of Chaos Space Marines and Loyalist Space Marine armors. That looks really cool. Is there a way to mod away the theme of Devil's Crossing? It's fine, but you're so sick of hearing it. Yeah, that should be a pretty easy thing to mod. Will we ever see any more of that level 1 gear of XP boost? I think there's a pretty good collection of that already. Do I know what's really cool? Grim Internals. I'm glad you guys like it, that's why we let you guys use mods. So you can do whatever the heck you want. It's a game, have fun with it, you know? Can I show the weapon stats as well? The weapon is an existing weapon. It's not a weapon we're adding in this patch. So you could already acquire this weapon in the game as it is. You better be sorry. When leveling in the Crucible, the XP per round ratio drastically drops after level 35-ish. Could you maybe see an XP boost for Crucible to make it more rewarding XP-wise? We'll take a look. Not saying we will change it, but I'll take a look. Right, so that was the 5 new sets. I'm gonna go back to the first one a bit, run through them all really quick. For those that might have stopped in too late to see it. Yep, 5 new sets. We have the Dune Fiend set with dual swords. If you can't dual wield with your mastery, then we've got the mask, which enables it for you. It changes the visual on Eye of Reckoning. And it's probably going to take me half an hour, but it gives you a chance to reset the cooldown from Shadow Strike. There it is. Next up, the Targo's craft set. You don't have to use the full set if you want to use those daggers. This set is focused on Blade Arc, Judgment, and Amarasta's Blade Burst. And I mentioned earlier that we're going to swap out the visual on that Blade Burst as well. Correct, you do not used to use the rune or metal for dual wield, or relic or metal. Those are the first two. Pyran set. This is the set you can use if you like things falling from the sky all the time. So you're going to throw in those mortars. You're going to cast your fiery devastation. And when you're doing all that, you might as well just throw in some explosions. Do we have an ETA for this patch? The ETA is soon. It actually isn't even in testing yet, but it's coming to testing soon. Post haste. Do I really want you to like Mortar Trap? Yeah, I guess. Yeah, just strap Meteor Shower to your proc and never be able to hear what's going on in the game again. Exactly. Wait, what? Yes, Orange Devastation. Next up, the Void Soul. Yep, that set has increased devastation duration. So you can devastate while you devastate. The game doesn't have bows because we wanted to go with guns and crossbows instead. And adding bows would be its own animation set, which is, as we discussed earlier, quite an endeavor. Naturally, you need a visual swap in Aegis,
That
because of
skill's
course
not
you
bad.
do. And finally, we have the Rutgeist, which we just went over recently. Let's see. Oh, one thing that's going to be coming in this patch for you guys that I haven't mentioned yet is we're actually going to be adding a few special levels to the Shattered Realm, 4 to be exact. So these are going to be things like the Mine level and the Lever level, where the rules change and some weird stuff happens. And you might be able to get some special prizes out of it too if you find them. Just buy the studio which made Wilson and transport GD to that engine. That is such a non-trivial request. It's not even funny. the engine they're working in, CryEngine, is not exactly the easiest engine to work with, which might be why they're having some issues. It certainly can make things pretty, but it's not just a matter of taking GD assets and throwing them into their engine. No, Wilson is CryEngine. But yes, new Shadow Realm levels, some interesting twists in there. You guys are probably going to complain about some of them, which is great. Your friends keep making fun of you for using Ages of Men here and saying you're a Marvel fanboy, but he's using a wizard like a geek. What do? You call him a nerd back! When can you expect this patch? Probably next month. Probably in June. I think that's a pretty good estimate. So I mentioned Eye of Reckoning swaps visually depending on your item skill modifiers. Still no health bars to enemies, like Grim Eternals. Well, for one, you pointed out that a mod has it. I think health bars would probably be, of all the things Grim Eternals does, health bars would be the thing I would most likely want to port into the main game. But it's not very likely at this point that we were going to implement such a feature. Ether, Eye of Reckoning. I think I would have to switch to... Where are you? Wait, wrong collection. It's like, these don't look like the expansion I'm looking for. There we go. Cold Eye of Reckoning. What item is Cold Eye of Reckoning on? Too many items. You know it's Rudin stuff, but could I show you some work in progress of deep CIA top secret stuff you're working on? If I showed you that, by virtue of showing you, it would no longer be top secret, now would it? Why are there so many references to Yugald, Insatiable Night, and Forgotten Gods? You just wonder, is it a reference to the next possible expansion or a reference to the 5th dungeon? I think it just gives you a wider look into the Grim Dawn universe. We get through Redigan's gem that converts chaos damage to acid damage for Sigil of Consumption. Does it convert the sigil to green? Have you not tried it? Have you not tried it? You guys really need to go out, try all this existing gear, because there's a lot of visual effect swaps that we've added the last patch. Nah, did I not put that set in here? Okay. Man, I am just on point with these item IDs today. How about that? Chillheart has it. That's right. Chillheart does have it. You really wanted to see Chaos EOR? I mean, we already showed that one. What about Alice? Just more lore, reference to future expansions, or even game. If you've talked to all the NPCs in the Conclave of the Three, you might have heard a little bit about Alice and what happened to her after Port Valbury. Any news on the Xbox release? You're definitely gonna have to watch the recording of this stream because I did go into that in detail earlier. But to give you a quick rundown, is that it's still coming. We're still working on it. We'll definitely give you news when we can. You're ready for a series of Grim Dawn books. You want to absorb all the lore and learn about all the Celestials. That would be quite an undertaking. Does it have to be 100% conversion to change the visuals? It doesn't have to be 100% conversion, but as a rule, we've put it on modifiers that have 100% conversion. Any visual pet conversions? So pets are quite the effort to swap out because you literally have to change out all the pets that you summon for a new visual. Am I looking to add a ring with percent experience gain in the future? As I mentioned, I think there's quite a bit of percent XP stuff already. Can we change the sigil visual maybe? You don't like summoning Satan every 3 seconds? Well, first off, the pentagram isn't exactly the devil's mark exclusively. So, not sure if that's the interpretation you should be making. It's more of a pagan symbol, actually. When can you buy Grim Dawn coffee mug and t-shirt? Make a store. Would love to. I'm just not sure who's going to manage it. Alright, we have a few more minutes before I have to go back to, work. So what do you guys want to see? What do you want me to spoil for you? Please never stop expanding the Grim Dawn universe, even outside of the game, into others. We've created such an awesome foundation. I agree. I think it would be fun to continue expanding on Grim Dawn, whether through an ARPG or otherwise. The conduit changes we are bringing. Conduit changes? I mean, the conduits have already been updated. What else are you referring to? It's like mowing the lawn in here at this. You've wondered, you're French and don't know anyone who's playing this game. You're only meeting Americans online. What's the percentage of Americans on this game? I don't know that number off the top of my head, but it is a safe bet that the majority of our player base is American. Do we have a date at least when we think to announce that we start working for Grim Dawn 2? If we started working on Grim Dawn 2, we would not tell you until we are well along in Grim Dawn 2. Any conduit conversions we might get back and have been missing in a conduit or another form. Right, so you're referring to the thread where some people have missed some of the conduits we revised. A few things that have been brought up in there have been placed on other items in some shape or form, yes. Any spoiler for the new dungeon? Honestly, I can't spoil it for you yet. It's literally, it doesn't exist yet. Hyboreal is literally working on the levels leading up to the roguelike dungeon right now. And they're pretty cool, but they're not checked in yet, so I can't even show you that. Not that I would. I'm not telling you I'm working on Grim Dawn 2 because I am. Wow, what a twist! So yep, next patch, another big patch for you guys. 5 new sets, 20 new items. We hope you can get the Loyalist Pack 2 ready for you by then. More visual changes. Balance changes, of course. I think some good stuff is in there that'll really help out. The next game that's being worked on is a Town Builder. Come on, spoilers, please. I can't give you spoilers unless you ask me for a spoiler. What do you want to know? Town Builder set. Yes, you guys are welcome for the infos. The patch will be in your hands before you know it. In the meantime, hope the people in America are going to enjoy their 3-day weekend. So play some Grim Dawn. Well, apparently if you're interested in playing Grim Dawn in multiplayer, there's going to be a whole lot of people joining you this weekend because it is a free weekend that just started. Does the Town Builder game have a name? It has a name. I don't think I'm allowed to tell you yet. What do you want to know? Everything, clearly. Well, you're going to have to be more specific because I'm not going to tell you everything in the next 5 minutes. Any plans on a hide item option for Illusionist? Maybe. That's actually something we've been talking about. Spoiled the new Loyalist pack. I mean, I spoiled that it's coming. I can't tell you more than that because the items don't exist yet. They're pretty cool stuff. I can't even give you the name initials for the Town Builder. Will this patch be separate from the dungeon patch? Yes. Yes, it will. Because the roguelike dungeon is just not going to be ready yet. I could tell you a lot in 5 minutes. I can talk pretty fast. But I couldn't tell you everything. Am I going back to work? You want to play the Defilers I ruined. Yeah, I will go back to work soon so you can go back to playing the Defilers I ruined. Is the Town Builder setting very different from Grim Dawn? Yes, the Town Builder is not set in a Grim Dawn world. What year do I think the new town building game will come out? Maybe I should tell you, so they'll be forced to live up to what I tell you. But it's probably 2020. If they release it this year, I mean, come on guys, make 2019 happen. What's stopping you? It's easy. Just. I mean, Grim Dawn's been out for years. Why isn't the Town Builder done? Will we potentially get more new items and legendary sets past patch 1.1.3? New items, yes. New sets, probably not. But new items for sure. Where do you get this Grim Dawn shirt? By being a developer. Is there a match 3 element to the Town Builder? No. And I will dare say officially here that it does not require a phone either. When the last boss in Forgotten Gods says, you don't know what's coming, what does he mean? It's something just off the horizon. Some doom coming your way that you haven't yet experienced directly. Alright, any last minute patch 1.1.3 questions? I really can't tell you much about the Town Builder. So you're not going to get many spoilers on that. Can I describe what it might be like? It's going to involve building a town, and having people in that town, and having them not die, every winter. If Grim Dawn Universe was to be made in a town builder game, would it not be closer to a game like Frostpunk? Maybe. I guess it'd be closer to that. Or would it? Can I pet dogs? Oh, in that game, can you pet dogs? I think there's wolves. I don't know if there's dogs. I don't think they've added any dogs. I keep telling them they need to make wolves rain from the sky, and by God, if wolves aren't raining from the sky by the time that game comes out, I will revolt. Is the new roguelike gonna have new mobs? It might have some reskins of some existing mobs that do new things, but if you mean like completely new mobs, like new models and stuff, that's not very likely. Does the town builder have the same graphics engine as Grim Dawn? No, the town builder is actually made in Unity. Grim Dawn is made in its own proprietary engine. Can you get a pair of boots that have a red glow like the purple Voidwalkers and yellow Time Warped? I don't recall if there's boots like that. Yeah, there's purple. There's definitely ether. Lightning. Yeah, I don't think there's a void version. So I think you might be out of luck for void boots. Will you be getting more Shadow Strike support for other damage types other than Acid? Yes! Any plans on updating the engine maybe? It looks nice, but you know. No, I really don't, honestly. I don't think you understand how updating engines works. There is some potential optimizations on the way, which should improve performance. In terms of visual fidelity, if that's what you're getting at, I mean, some of that is just the models we make. In terms of lightning effects, like that would require some major engine changes, yes. Would we ever decide to do another limited print of the physical editions of Grim Dawn? Probably not. That was honestly a huge headache to get that out. There were so many delays. They were out of our control. It was not the best experience. Alright, last chance for questions before I sign off. What did I have for lunch? We had some leftover mushroom tacos from dinner yesterday that I had for lunch. Pretty good. What color are my pens today? Light brown. What was the cause of the multiplayer crashes in the Shattered Realm? What was the cause of that? Oh yes, it was related to how levels were unloading. There was a bug that was actually in the game for quite a long time. The Shattered Realm just exasperated it and helped us find it ultimately. The way levels were unloading was inconsistent, and sometimes what would happen is that levels would get stuck in memory, which would cause you to eventually have too many levels loaded, bog your system down, and done. But it's fixed. And I think that actually might have fixed some rare crashes people were experiencing just like anywhere in the game, not just in the Shattered Realm. So it actually worked out that we were able to find that. Will we also update the Shattered Realm portal arena? That is one of the largest ones, so no. But we are updating the Loghorian themed area and the Fleshworks themed areas. So those are getting bigger. Do I wear Vans? No. You remember having that kind of crash a lot, and Ashes haven't had it since. There you go. So that was probably the same issue that we just could never pinpoint, and we did with Forgotten Gods. it's one of those problems that's really hard to narrow down, but the Shattered Realm helped us debug it because of how frequently levels are loaded and unloaded. That arena is pretty open, but that's what the two statues are for. Spawn rate of Shrines of Death in Shattered Realm, yes please. I'll think about it. It is supposed to be more rare. What was the Shattered Realm total development time? That's hard to say. Because things tended to get worked on kind of in parallel. So, well, for example, Kinri, one of our programmers, was working on the Shattered Realm. I might have been working on the Oathkeeper, and then I had to go back to work on the Shattered Realm. And then he might have stopped working on the Shattered Realm to go work on something else, and then he had to go back, and so there's a lot of like back and forth like that. But it was several months. It took longer to make the Shattered Realm than it took to make the Crucible, by reference. Is there a way to refund all skill points at once versus one at a time? You can do it for devotion points. Thanks for the stream and convinced you to pick up the expansions. Well, I'm glad to be here and hope you enjoy the expansions. I think they definitely bring out some of our best work in Grim Dawn. So I don't think you'll be disappointed. Can we change the balance of healing effects on foes? Because heal on percent makes really difficult and boring situations in the game where 3 Mermaid champions heal each other from 10% to 100% health. I mean, I've run into those situations on my characters before, and it can definitely get frustrating, but you gotta try to split them up or burst one down. Alright guys, I'm gonna get back to work here. Got a patch to release for you guys, so take care, have a good weekend, thanks for stopping by. Those of you who stopped in late, you can check out the 5 new sets we're adding in patch 1.1.3 by watching the recording of this stream. Take care, see ya next time.